2023 Toyota Supra. I've been so excited about this car. It's a proper driver's car, now with a proper pedal count. Let's go ahead and take a look. So I was at an event late last year with a 2.0 Supra. There were like 20 other cars there too. Lots of cool stuff. That was the only car that I went back and drove a second time. I just absolutely loved it. Now this one, I've had this one for about a week. The 3.0, the 6-cylinder. I went to another event in the same spot. Again, there were like 20 cars. There was a Z4, which shares pretty much all the underpinnings of this car. And at the end of the day, I was so happy to be back in this car. Now, there are a number of changes here for 2023. Of course, the biggest one is the fact that you can now get it with a manual transmission. But that manual transmission is only if you get the 3.0 with the 6-cylinder. So what you have to tell your spouse is if you buy a third pedal, you get 2 cylinders free. That's the way that you have to phrase it. Toyota claims that it took a while to come up with this transmission, to release the manual transmission, because they wanted to develop something that would work well with this engine that didn't feel like a BMW. They didn't want it to just feel like a Z4 transmission, even though you can't get the Z4 with the manual anymore, but you could previously. They wanted it to feel like a Toyota gearbox. Seems a little coincidental that it came out at the same time as the Nissan Z, but it's a damn good gearbox. I don't think that it feels particularly like a BMW. I don't think it really feels like a Toyota either. I think it feels a lot like a Mazda, the Miata to be specific, and I mean that in the best possible way. The throws are so nice and short and confident. There is zero slop in this gearbox. It is so nice to shift. And the clutch pedal is not as light as something that like a Miata. A lot of modern cars nowadays have these super feather light clutches. This one actually has some weight to it. For a modern clutch, it feels really, really good, but it's not so heavy that it's a pain in traffic. On the way to that New York event that I was at a couple days ago, of course it's New York, so there was traffic. I had no issues at all, fatigue in my leg, anything like that. Super easy to crawl in traffic. And the way they have this thing tuned, even in second gear at 6, 7, 8 miles an hour, there was no shake. It didn't feel like it was going to stall or anything like that. Before we talk about traffic, let's talk about how this thing drives. This has the B58 motor with the turbos that BMW uses in a bunch of their cars, and it is a damn good engine. There's a reason that Toyota blessed this thing and put it in something with a Toyota badge on it, because it is very good. The power delivery, the power band is so nice and wide. It just feels like it's there. It's available all the time. If you want to just sort of cruise around and short shift, that's not a problem. It will never feel like it's lugging. But if you want to wring it out, you can do that too, and you've got power all the way up into redline easily. The redline's only about 6,500, and your limitations for wringing it out are really just the fact that there is so much torque, there is so much power. Drop it into second gear. Around 65, 70 miles an hour, I hit redline. So it's not really super usable on the street, but if you wanted to use your whole tech on the track or on the highway, it is easily, you get that power all the way up through the tach. Now, some other changes that they made for 2023, since this one is the manual, for the manual transmission, it has a different final drive than the automatic transmission, because they didn't want it to be a pain to get off the line, and it does move off the line very quickly. I felt like in the GR86 and in the Miata, it can be kind of a chore if you're light to light, getting off the line over and over and over again. This feels a little bit on the slow side. This thing is perfectly fine doing that. Now, of course, that's not what it is made for though, and Toyota has done a few other things here for 2023. But now, new for this year, it has the active sport diff, the limited slip differential, which will allow the wheels to spin at different speeds. You lose traction in one wheel or the other, and now for this year, you can actually have more of a difference, a bigger difference in speeds of those two back wheels allowed. So it can really get you pulled out of a turn. You can feel it. You can seriously feel it. If you go hard into a turn and accelerate hard out, it just pulls you out. It's an amazing feeling. And when you're going through those turns, you have confidence in these brakes as the big 4-piston Brembo brakes. They work super well. Absolutely confident there. And you can even heel toe your downshifts. The pedal box is, I wish it was a little bit tighter, but it is, if you have bigger feet than I'm only 5'7". I'm a shorter guy. I don't have the biggest feet in the world. But if you have feet that are a little bigger than mine, then it'll be a little bit easier for you to heel toe your downshifts. And if you don't want to do that for yourself, if you don't want to do your own rev matching, they have something called gear shift assist. That is the intelligent manual, bunch of buzzwords that Toyota uses. Basically, that is your rev matching, and it works well. It'll blip your throttle as you do your downshifts. And in normal mode, that is on by default. But if you want to pop it into sport mode, then you can manage that. You can turn it off if you'd rather do your own blipping of the throttle. The other stuff in that sport menu are going to be your engine noise, your exhaust, basically, because it has the dual mode exhaust, quiet and loud mode, and it sounds really good. You get some good pops and bangs when you have it in that sport mode. The chassis stiffness, because it does have that adaptive variable suspension. That is standard. It doesn't matter if you get the premium or the regular 3.0. You do get that either way. But note that it does not get soft. If you are looking for a GT car or something soft that you can just cruise around in, this is not that car. Even in normal mode, it does not ever get soft. And then your steering, it'll also allow you to update your steering if you want your steering to be a little bit tighter. In sport mode, it's not really a heavy steering feel. It is still electronic power steering. There's not a ton of feeling through the steering wheel to the wheels, but you do get that responsiveness. You are definitely in control with the tiniest little movements of the wheel. You do feel like you are 100% in control. This is not a car that you are on your way to work and you zone out and you forget and you're like, oh, how did I get to work? This is one where if you just move the wheel just slightly, you'll feel the car start to move, and you really have to be paying attention. It's a driver's car where you need to focus when you're driving. And when you're not on these twisty mountain roads or on the track or whatever, you want to drop a gear and disappear on the highway, absolutely does that, and it feels so good. Right now I'm stuck behind a minivan, so I can't do that. Now this does have a few driver's assist features option, the blind spot monitoring, the rear cross traffic alert. I would recommend getting those. The back window is kind of a pinhole Miata-like window in the back. Visibility out the sides is actually pretty good, but it also will have the lane keep assist where it will shove you back into your lane, but you can turn that off. You can actually just hit this button right here and adjust your safety settings, tell them how aggressive you want them to be, and for the most part they just stay out of your way. The blind spot monitoring doesn't beep at you, it just has a little light. The lane keep assist, like I mentioned, you can shut that off. The driver's assist features are there, but they're not in the way, which is perfect for a car like this. A couple more notes about the manual transmission and about the power delivery. So there is just a tiny smidge of rev hang. It's really not too bad. It doesn't feel like it's getting in the way or anything, but you could always tune that out. But it really hasn't been an issue for me this week. And with the power delivery, the turbo lag is non-existent. It feels like the power is just so readily available all the time. Actually, I got a little room to run. Brake. This car just makes you want to drive. Every time I get in it, it's just a good time, and this gearbox is so good. I love it. Exterior wise, this thing is absolutely gorgeous, especially in this new Stratosphere blue color. This is new for 2023. Well, I'm going to use new in quotes though, actually, because I'm pretty sure that BMW already had this color out, or a very, very close color to it. And it's kind of interesting when this thing is standing on its own, it kind of looks big. It looks sort of flat and wide. But when you put it next to some other cars, or when I stand next to it, you can tell it's actually very small and very compact. But absolutely love the look of this thing. From the side here, absolutely gorgeous profile going on. Interestingly, this is actually a little bit longer than the GR86, even though it's only a two-seater and that one is a 2+2. But this one's 172 inches long versus 167. But even being longer, actually has a shorter wheelbase at about 97 inches. It's going to help a little bit with that handling. Now, with this being the 3-liter with the 6-cylinder, the weight distribution, you've got a little bit of extra weight out front. If you're in the 2-liter 4-cylinder, then it's a pretty near 50-50 weight distribution. So like I said, you get the bigger engine, so you get a little bit more weight out front in this one. If you're in the 3-liter, whether that's the 3-liter base, the 3-liter premium like I have here, or the A91 MT Special Edition, you're gonna be on 19-inch rims, and those are gonna be wrapped in Michelin Pilot Super Sport summer tires. Nice sticky tire. They have done me well this week through these spirited drives that I've been having all week long. This thing is a blast to throw around. Of course, we've got the ducktail that really sets this thing off nicely. These mirrors here, integrated turn signals. This will have blind spot monitoring only if you option it. You do have to option that, which is very strange, honestly. You do have to option that. I would definitely recommend that. Visibility out the back is not great. Visibility out the side is actually really good, because look how long these doors are, how long these windows are. The pillar is pretty far back. So actually the visibility out the sides is really pretty good. And these will actually fold as well. You got touch to lock, and those will fold up. This thing is pretty narrow already, but nice that you can get those out of the way. And we've got some fake vents up here and fake vents up over here. Now, the chief engineer of the Supra says that those can be removed, that those are for the racing version, and you can just pop those out if you want to build a race car. Some people have tried to dispute that. I will let you guys dispute that in the comments if you'd like, but I don't like that they're all blocked off, but it's nice to know that you can probably take those out if you'd like. Nice big 4-piston Brembo brake calipers here with the Toyota Supra logo on it, because it's the premium and the special edition. You get that painted on there. Otherwise, you just get plain red Brembo brakes. Not really a big deal there. Love this curvature through here. Really just such a nice looking car. Up in the front, nice LED headlights. No matter which version of the 3-liter you get, those are going to be LEDs. Got a little bit of red trim throughout there. I love the shape of these lights as well. It's really well done up here in the front end. Again, more fake vents that can be removed. Splitter down here. You got some venting down here, some fake vents. I don't know why these are fake. That seems like that should be opened up. I wish they didn't have this plate on here. If you get one of these, please don't drill holes in your front bumper. But lots of cooling down under here. Intercooler is poking through down under there as well. And we're sitting about 4.7 inches off the ground. So watch out for scraping. There'll definitely be a little bit of scraping if you have any big driveways or big curbs you got to go over. So definitely watch out for that. And underneath the hood, you can't see a whole lot here, but we've got the tried and true B58 motor from BMW. It's a straight 6 with a twin scroll turbo, not a twin turbo, a single turbo that is twin scroll. This thing makes 382 horsepower, 368 pound-feet of torque. But knowing BMW, those numbers are probably not actually accurate. It probably makes a lot more than that. And for 0 to 60 times, we're looking at about 4.2, 4.3 seconds with the manual transmission. All right, interior wise here, obviously you got to step down a little bit. It does have that low stance to it. Being short is definitely gonna help in here, because if I was any taller, I'd be hitting the ceiling here. I've only got a couple of inches there. Not super comfortable. If I was any shorter, I wouldn't be able to see over the dash. That would probably be a problem as well. Now, as far as the interior itself though, these seats here, these are the leather seats. Black leather is going to be standard in the premium trim level. The 3.0 base is going to get you Alcantara with leather trim, and if you get the special edition, the A91 MT special edition, it's going to be a cognac, which is like a tannish brownish color. Not my favorite, so I'm kind of glad that this one has the black interior. But these are bolstered very aggressively. If you're on the bigger side, probably going to be a problem for you. We do have a pretty good mix of BMW and Toyota going on in here. I love that they kept this sort of carbon fiber center console thing that BMW does. They adjusted some things here to fit the manual transmission and to make this manual transmission work well. Got the wireless charging up here. That is part of the premium package. Now these two cup holders back here, only one of those isn't actually usable. If you put anything in the front cup holder, you won't be able to shift, which is probably going to be a problem. Electronic parking brake, not my favorite, is what it is. Your sport button, because there are only two modes in this one, a normal and a sport. We'll get into what those look like when we get into the infotainment. Your auto start stop button right there, your safety systems, your parking sensors, and your traction control all right there, easy to access. The steering wheel, unfortunately, is not a BMW steering wheel. This is a Toyota steering wheel, and I'm not the biggest fan of this. It's leather wrapped, it's kind of goofy looking, plasticky buttons. I was in a Z4 yesterday, and if I could take that big beefy M steering wheel with the Alcantara and the big grip on it and put that in here. I really like the BMW steering wheels. This steering wheel could use some work, but it is effective. It does its job. You know, you just have your infotainment controls here, which you can control through the heads-up display here, as well as your hands-free calling and your cruise control settings. Now, you cannot get the radar cruise, the adaptive cruise, because this is the manual transmission. If you're in the auto, you would be able to option that. This one just has the regular cruise control. Gauge cluster, very simple. A big tack right in the middle, just the way I like it. When you pop it into sport mode, then it'll give you some extra lines there to see your red line a little bit better, and it'll give you a little sport text across it to let you know that you're in sport mode. Also has current speed limit, the gear that you're in, and if you want it to tell you when to shift, then you can turn that on or off through this system. But simple gauge cluster, I like the way that looks. If I had nav, again, that right hand side, which is very conspicuously blank right now, would have that nav system over there. Lots of plastics going on, little tiny bit of gloss black, not too much luckily. Plastics all around, kind of, you know, doesn't feel quite as nice as the Z4 does inside, but that's, you're not buying this as a luxury vehicle. If you want something that's a little more GT, a little more comfortable, then you buy the Z4. If you want something that's a little more dynamic, this is the one to get. So that's okay. I don't mind the materials, but it would be nice at least to have that other steering wheel. There's infotainment here. Okay, like I mentioned, you can control that down here with the buttons and the knobs, or it is a touchscreen as well. This thing is super dated, but it's quick enough, it's easy enough to use. 22 miles per gallon apparently. That's pretty impressive. But you can change your vehicle settings in here, your sport mode. The biggest thing is going to be your sport mode. When you hit sport, configure, you've got your damping, because you get the adaptive variable suspension no matter which one of the 3.0s you're in. The steering, you get your choice between sport and normal, and your engine, you get the choice between sport and normal. And then they have something called gear shift assist. That is the intelligent manual that Toyota uses. It's your rev matching. It is pretty seamless if you do decide that you want to use that system. I've left it off just because I like to do the rev magic for myself, and pedal box is close enough that I can do some decent heel towing. We also have the 12 speaker JBL sound system going through this one, because this is the premium that is now standard here in 2023. You get that 12 speaker JBL sound system. It's not as crystal clear as some of the competition out there, but it's a decent sound system. I'm paying more attention to the drive anyway. Now, interestingly, this only has CarPlay. You can get wireless CarPlay if you're in the premium trim here, but Android Auto is not in here at all, wired or wireless. So that's a little bit strange, and it's been a little bit frustrating, especially since I don't have the nav either. And I've had to travel a little bit around this week. Not a deal breaker. Again, this is a driver's car. I'm more interested in how it drives than in the features, but that is something to note. Down below the infotainment, physical buttons for your HVAC. We do have heated seats, always nice to see there. We do have dual zone climate, one zone for each cubic foot of space in the cabin, but either way, nice to have, I guess. So at the end of the day, Toyota and BMW absolutely nailed this as a driver's car. If you want something that's soft, you can just cruise around in on the weekends, go buy a Z4. If you want something that you can drive hard, feel like you're in control, something you look at it in your driveway and it just makes you want to get in it and just go drive to nowhere. Just go find a twisty mountain road and drive to nowhere. This is that car. Toyota and BMW just absolutely killed it. And this manual gearbox is excellent. The engine, the traction, the control, everything about this is just so good. Yeah, it's loud in here. Yeah, there are some compromises with the infotainment system. Speakers are but from a driving perspective, this car is so good. If you want to hear how this compares to the new Nissan Z, I'm going to have that one in a couple weeks, so make sure to stick around for that. If you don't, just please at least hit the like, hit the share, do all the YouTube things, help me get into more cars. There are a couple of things that keep me motivated. One is the comments that I get from you guys, like, hey, this information really helped me. Thank you for the video. And number two is when I get to drive cars like this that are just flat out fun. Weeks like this make it so worth it. So please go ahead, hit the like, hit the share, subscribe if you want to stick around and see what I'm going to drive next, and leave a comment below if you have any kind of questions on this car or any other car that I've driven or something that you want to see me drive. That's all I got for this week. Thanks for watching. See you next time.